Hey guys, this is Pharaoh 2091, and welcome back to Let's Play 999. Last time I left off, I was still looking around the library for books and stuff, mainly the pop-up books and the light bulbs. I found all 3 pop-up books, and I found 2 light bulbs. I don't know where the hell the other one's at. I'm assuming I missed one somewhere. Mind swap, so I'm assuming... I don't know if it's in the bottom or if it's like in one of the books. There's another puzzle I have to solve. As if no, it's not there either. Come on, game, help me out a little bit here. I don't know where to look. There aren't many books that look suspicious. Book's called Correlation of Muscle, Bone Density. Book is called Principles of Monkey Behavior. I think I just looked at this already. Sorry, I just don't really know where I'm going right now. Dissection Atlas, huh? This whole shelf is full of medical books. There's an old book here called Recreational Osteal Functions. Ancient Gladiators. What's this book doing here? Maybe they were researching human physical limits across history. Maybe. There's full of medical books. There's one called Dissection. Crap. Fine. Did we look up there? I don't think we did. Automated robotic assembly line techniques. Huh. What's that? Some sort of comic book? Jeez, I guess boys really like that stuff, huh? No, you're thinking of a different sort of robots. This book is talking about automated machinery that's used to build things like cars. What's that one called? Cells Foundations of DNA and Genetic Engineering. Interesting. An overview of photochemistry? I think whoever set this up wanted us to see the cover and not the spine. And... oops. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Who is it? Oh, telemarketer. Sorry, that was really loud. I actually picked up the phone and put it right next to the microphone. And I'm like, oops, that might be loud for you guys. So yeah, I think I wanted to see the cover, not the spine. Let's look at it, okay? Huh, looks like there's a whole lot of space behind these books. Look, Junpei, I think there's something hidden behind the books. Is it what I think it is? Damn right it is. It's a light bulb. And now that I have a light bulb, I can actually go back downstairs and replace all 3 light bulbs. Alright. And I'm still standing by. That thing's a sheldrake, whatever. I can kind of see it. Alright, so there are 3 lights in here. I'm going to change these bulbs. Now they should. Come on. I am awesome. Awesome! It worked! Way to go, Junpei. Good job, buddy. There's something projecting on the bottom. These letters. They seem familiar. Yep. Sheldrake 5. That must mean that we have to look at the 5th volume of that book, then. And here it is. It says Sheldrake in the spine of this book. It's got the volume number written on the lower part of the spine. Yes. Yeah, can I... Hello? I want number 5, please. Book says Owen on it. It's like... it's a yellow book with a word... showing in a book stuff. I know that. It's got the volume... Did I not solve it? I'm confused. Maybe I have to look at this. Yeah, I think that's what I had to do. Sheldrake. Junpei read a text out loud. I think I saw the rest of this collection somewhere. Yeah, I think it was somewhere around here. Let's go take a look. Okay. Seven and Clover walked off, leaving Junpei and Snake behind. Have you heard of him? Sheldrake, I mean. I'm probably saying his name wrong, and... excuse me if I do. Junpei grinned. Yeah, Lotus told me about him. She did? Oh, yeah, this whole thing. I haven't really read the text for in, like, God knows how many parts. There's a British biochemist named Sheldrake. He had a rather interesting theory. A theory of morphogenetic fields, which relies on the theory of morphic resonance. Really? From Lotus, huh? Well, Clover also said something about me about that stuff. She did. Yeah, what was it? The ability to access a morphogenetic field and affected by a couple of things. And the first is Epiphany, and the other is Danger. That girl. I told her not to tell anyone. You did? Why? Jumpy's eyes narrowed. Look, man, I didn't push it because we were in a hurry, but I'm kind of sick of this. How about you just tell me, okay? Tell you what. Don't give me that. About the experiment. Snake's shoulders slumped and he shook his head slowly. He'd finally given up. Very well. Fine. I'll tell you everything. But not here. Let's move to the top floor. Junpei nodded. With that, they climbed the stairs to the top floor. Okay. Snake was silent for a moment after they arrived, but then finally crossed his arms and spoke. I suppose I might as well start by telling you why I kept quiet and why I made sure Clover did as well. To be honest, the explanation is quite simple. Zero told me not to. I had little choice. He didn't walk up and tell me, of course. He gave me a message engraved on a card. Snake reached into his sleeve and pulled out a small, stiff piece of paper. It looked a good deal like the one he'd shown everyone at the central staircase. So you had 2 cards. No, only 1. Huh? What do you mean? I thought that card just had some rules for a notary game on it. Yes, it did. And those were the rules I read you. However, they were not the only thing on the card. There was something I didn't read. Well, perhaps I should say there was something I couldn't read. And that was... Tell no one of the events that took place 9 years ago. Tell, and I activate your sister's detonator. Oh. Well, Snake nodded. Well, what about Clover? Did she get a message from Zero too? I don't believe she did. She doesn't, but doesn't it strike you as strange that Zero would shut my mouth, but not hers? Yeah, that does seem a little weird. To be on the safe side, however, I told her it was best not to tell anyone. Still, apparently she told you. That girl. What's wrong with her telling me? I figured some stuff out with the things she told me. I mean, it looks like the whole activate her detonator thing was just a bluff. She's prancing around downstairs happy as a clam now that you're back. Snake glanced down at Clover and Seven, examining one of the bookshelves. That's very true. I decided I can trust you. I decided to tell you the truth. The chance that Santa is Zero is very high. I feel I can assume Santa doesn't have the time to observe us at the moment. And at any rate, even if he were, I very much doubt he would kill us. And why not? Clover told me about the 4-leaf clover. About the words. If he knew about that, then he was in my group during the first experiment. I'm sure of it. He wouldn't kill us, no matter what the situation was. Snake paused and cocked his head, as though he was listening to something very far away. His face looked dark, as though something was weighing on him. Hey, Snake? Juby wasn't quite sure what to say. Snake turned and looked at him. Yes, I know. You want to know what happened during the experiment? Yeah. How much do you know? Junpei relayed to Snake everything Clover had told him. The morphogenetic field and the experiments 9 years prior that they had dealt with, how the experiment had taken place simultaneously at 2 locations, one being in a ship and the other being a building in Nevada, how they played a notary game. He told them everything. And finally, he told them how a girl had died during the experiment. Oh, she told you all that, did she? Snake looked down. His face was tight. A slight tremor shook his body, and he tried to hide it. He was putting on a good front, but even Junpei couldn't tell he was holding back something deep and powerful. He made as if to brush something from his face and looked at Junpei. At any rate, I now know how much you've learned. All that remains for us to determine is who did this and why, right? Yes. Can you tell me what happened? Snake nodded slowly. The people who organized the initial experiment were from a company called Cradle Pharmaceutical. There were 4 of them running the show. Gentaro Hangao, which we now know is actually Ace, Nagisa Nijasaki, Turakai Kabuta, and Kajishika Musai... Oh, no. Yeah, I probably shouldn't even bother pronouncing these. Hanga was the CEO of Pharaoh Pharmaceutical. Nijisaki was his right-hand man and did the lion's share of his planning. Kabuta led the company's research and development division, and Musashido was their majority stockholder. It was these four people who planned the initial experiment. Let me simplify it for you. Hanga designed it, and Nijisaki put it all together. Kabuta developed the technology required, and Musashido, whatever, provided the cash. So it's Hanga, and yeah, okay, these people. Junpei couldn't shake the sense that he had heard these four names somewhere before. And I believe we have. Of course, more than 4 people were required to conduct this experiment on this scale. To that end, they organized a top-secret team to assist them with their research. All in all together, 10 people or so. Those 10 completed their team, and they were able to begin the project. They named it the Notary Project. The purpose of the experiment was to research the prospect of controlling a human mind through sheer will. The vessel, I suppose you could say, for this control is a morphogenetic field. Why did a glycerin suddenly begin to crystallize? Why did the crystal structure of EDT undergo a sudden change? Why did the rats improve their puzzle-solving skills with each generation? Experiments of humans produce the same results. The more people who knew the answer to a question, the more people there who could answer correctly without having been seen the problem before. Why and how? The answer is that the shape of the answer has been stored in a field invisible to the naked eye, and through that field a resonant event transmits information related to that answer. That's essentially the idea behind morphogenetic fields. But that's just a theory. Can't bring yourself to believe it? Not really. Let's just say somebody killed another person because the devil told them to do it. Whether the devil exists or not has no relevance to the murderer. They believe the devil exists. Whether or not he does is immaterial. Is that even saying? Whatever. So what matters here is that the Hangul believed in the morphogenetic field. Snake nodded. But I still don't get it. You said they wanted to figure out how to control people. Right? That is what you're saying. Yes. So how are they going to do that with a morphogenetic field? I'll keep it simple. Let's suppose 10,000 people have solved a certain problem. The chance of you knowing the answer, even if no one has told you, will go up. Let's have another example, shall we? Say 1,000,000 people were to do a handstand right now. Tomorrow, the chances of you doing a handstand would be higher, even if you had heard nothing of this hypothetical mass handstanding. Mankind's thought process and actions are all part of a resonant event. All the resonant events encoded in the fields are projected onto you. Of course, this assumes you believe in the theory. Do you follow so far? Yeah. But let's say, hypothetically, that there was a person who had the same effect as those millions of people. What would happen? If that one person were to do a handstand, other people would find themselves wanting to do handstands as well. Can you imagine what a person with powers like that would be able to do? Come on, there's no way. I'm not done. Imagine another scenario. Imagine another person. This is an ordinary person. Let's say he does a handstand. What if there was someone who could grab the resonant event he created by doing that and use it to make other people do handstands? What would happen then? A person who has the power to write to the field and someone who can read from the same, you could think of them as the writer and reader, or the transmitter and the receiver. What would the world be like if there were people with abilities like these? Junpei thought about it for a moment. So the transmitter's resonant events can be transmitted through the field and sent to the receiver. And then the transmitter can control the receiver however they wish. That's what you're saying, right? Yes. Close enough, at least. Come on, that's just crazy. Well, if you want to prove that, then you'll have to test it first. At least, that's how... That was how they thought. That was why they decided to do their experiment. That was how the Notary Project began. Snake suddenly looked very serious. Junpei, have you ever heard of the Gansfield experiment? Gansfeld? Didn't we talk about this earlier in the game? Junpei nodded. Yeah, that was an experiment in telepathy, right? They put a pair of subjects in separate rooms, and then they show one of them a picture and ask the other what they saw. Interesting. I'm impressed. Yes, that is exactly correct. So, why'd you bring up the Ganzfeld experiment? It was used to screen subjects for the Millinery Project. The hospital in a remote town was affiliated with Cradle Pharmaceutical. Hangao used it to conduct experiments on visiting children in secret. Some of them, he found, had potential. He began to gather children that showed promise. Children that seemed as though they might be able to access the field. Of course, none of them volunteered. They were kidnapped. His face barely moved as he spoke. There were 9 pairs of siblings taken, for 18 children total. For reasons that were not fully understood at the time, each pair had 1 transmitter and 1 receiver. They were split perfectly. As such, the 18 children were split into 2 groups of 9. The children who were put in Group Q were the ones who were excelled at transmitting. They were transferred to the mock experiment building known as Building Q in the Nevada desert. The children who excelled at receiving were put in Group A. The members of Group A were placed on a former hospital ship, Gigantic. From the experiments he had conducted so far, Hangao had learned the following. There are 2 things that can increase one's resonance with the fields. The first is epiphany. The other is danger. Have you ever been faced with an especially difficult problem and thought you thought about it very long, very hard, until finally an answer just suddenly appeared in your mind? It may seem obvious to say so, but that is what is meant by epiphany. The information obtained through that epiphany can be easily transmitted through the fields, where it can be easily interpreted. Adding danger to that equation allows for even easier field access. Therefore, Hangao set up a number of puzzles across the Gigantic. The participants had to solve each puzzle before they could move to the next room. Of course, he hadn't forgotten to include danger. More specifically, he had detonated a bomb in the hull of the Gigantic. The children in Group A were forced to play an order game as the ship sunk. By forcing children into a life-or-death situation, Hangao hoped to increase the likelihood of their tapping into the fields. The children from Group Q, on the other hand, were confined to a mock experiment building, Building Q. Building Q duplicated the interior and puzzles of the Gigantic exactly. Hangao explained the situation to the children in Group Q. Solve the puzzles you find throughout the rooms. When you solve them, transmit the information to the children in Group A. If you succeed, they'll be able to solve the puzzles and escape. But if you fail, then the Gigantic will sink, and your brothers and sisters will drown. Do you know why the astronauts of Apollo 13 were able to return to Earth safely? It was because NASA had access to a replica of the Apollo 13 capsule. All the equipment, the instruments, everything, all of it identical. NASA was able to replicate the situation the astronauts were facing. By putting themselves in the same situation, they attempted to solve the problems they knew the astronauts were experiencing. Once they had found them solutions, they reported their findings to the men aboard the actual capsule. That was how they were able to return safely. It was the same with the Gigantic and Building Q. The children from the Group Q had to use the power of Epiphany to solve the puzzles they found and transmit what they learned through the fields. The children in Group A, however, had to access the fields and to learn how they might advance it to the next stage. That is the simplest explanation I can manage. Snake sounded defeated. His half-hearted attempt at derision served only to show how much the story had affected him. Just as Junpei was about to speak... Hey! Junpei! Snake! How much longer are you two gonna sit around on those bony asses? Get down here already! Seven's voice echoed from below. Snake took a deep breath and blinked rapidly, as he was just waking up from a long nap. He's right. Let's go, shall we? We don't have much time. We need to get out of here, and soon. Snake headed for the stairs, but Junpei put out an arm to stop him. Hold it. There's one more thing I want to ask you. Are you sure that there were 18 kids? Why? Well, I thought it was only 16. Oh. Yes, that was what they said in the news, wasn't it? Yes, I have no doubt that 18 children were abducted and used in Hangao's experiment. After all, you couldn't exactly play a notary game with any less, could you? Well, yeah, but... Are you saying the news got it wrong? Yes, I am. There were 2 more children. However, they had no relatives that I'm aware of. I imagine no one filed a police report when they went missing. They were brother and sister, like Clover and I. And I honestly think I know who they're talking about. The brother's name was Oi, or Aoi, whatever. The sister's name was... Her name was... Snake couldn't seem to bring himself to continue. It looked as if he was trying to... He was about to say it brought him great pain. Her name was Akane. That was the girl who died. Huh? Very confused. And they're playing the scary music. For the hell of it? I think I know who they're talking about, but at the same time, now I'm not so sure. In any case, guys, we'll continue this in the next episode. So, as usual, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time for Let's Play 999. I'll see you guys later.